But let's think about that for a second. What really is Facebook? I mean, what do they do that warrants value? I mean, I think it's a good
They
question.
know a lot about a lot of people.
Right. Okay. So, in other words, they have a very similar play to other companies that know a lot about a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like Google, like Amazon.
Except Google and Amazon provide services.
Facebook also provides a service. You can argue about the value of that service, but Facebook does provide a service. Right? I mean, why did you sign up for Facebook? Was it because you wanted someone to know a lot about you?
So I could stalk people.
It's so you could stalk people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that worked out for you. The point is that, Facebook exists first and foremost as being something that people want to be a part of. To keep up with friends, to stalk people, to do whatever they do on Facebook, which I will not lie is kind of diminishing on my side of things. I don't really use it for much anymore. But the point is, it's there.
I've never really used it heavily. You know what? I've used it more in relation to the website now.
Yeah.
The Rue account. Yeah. Than I ever did my actual, real account.
Yeah. By the way, friend us both on Facebook. Anyway, so Rue and Commodore.
Do you have a Commodore account? Mm-hmm. I didn't even know this.
Well, I created it, but then I didn't do much with it. I'm so.
Well,
you're
making the point.
I'm so.
You're making the point, aren't you?
I know. Well, I mean, I don't like Facebook. It's not my thing. I don't know what to do.
And now you got Google Plus.
And now we got Google Plus. But so anyway, the point is, Facebook provides a service, but because they know a lot about a lot of people.
MySpace.
We
got MySpace.
Potentially,
we don't need anything else.
So MySpace is a great case in point here, right? Mm-hmm. MySpace is a great case in point. Think about what MySpace was able to deliver in service even 7 or 8 years ago.
Crappy
for the time, right?
Right.
It was a site created for musicians and bands to be able to tout, what they're doing, where they're going to be, where the shows are, and all of a sudden it just kind of takes off for everything. People start making them for their pets and everything else. Now, if you could come up with some kind of video delivery platform that worked on MySpace, circa 2003, mm-hmm. MySpace might be all we have right now. But Facebook comes in. It has a much better interface. It's cleaner. It's easier to use. Right. Now, I would argue Facebook is actually ridiculously written and horrible to keep up with these days.
Well, I mean, the high level of dissatisfaction with the new timeline feature is.
Forget that. Listen, to do something simple
crazy.
And easy in Facebook is like performing a root canal. Okay, it's absolutely impossible. Like, you would want to go, hey, all I really want to do is take this and do this with it.
Well, you know why Facebook got...
Why is that so hard?
You know why Facebook got popular, though? It's because it was cool.
Oh, because it was clean. MySpace was so dirty and yucky and awful.
That was part of it.
And
it was
Facebook's
clean.
Just this nice clean thing with blue.
It was clean. Not everyone could get into it.
Right.
At first, only a few different colleges could get into it.
Yes.
And then all colleges. And then high school students. And then everyone.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Corey Dillon. 7-3. Suck it.
Nice.
Anyway. Pats, that is.
No, it's 7-3 Giants, but that's okay.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, keep going.
Misreading. What was
Tiki
it?
Barber, end zone.
Twitter?
Touchdown.
No, so my point is that they got popular and then they were able to spread out. The question is their popularity waning?
Where is the revenue stream? That's what I want to know.
Well, Zynga provides revenue for them.
That only provides revenue because Facebook is the platform du jour.
Yes.
It provides no revenue if Facebook is not the platform du jour.
And because Zynga copies other people's games.
Right.
Yes.
Well, right. It's kind of hard to deny that.
The question is, though, is this a bubble? Is this something that in 5 years we're going to look back and say, oh, man, remember when people thought Facebook was worth money?
I hope not, because, that would further diminish a lot of economic issues here in I'd say, America, especially with the value of the dollar, so on and so forth, where people are pumping capital into these ridiculous social IPOs that are nothing more than kind of nice software faces on pretty databases.
Well, that's what you're saying, though, is that when you put it that way, how could you see it any other way?
I really do. Bubble. That's the way I see it. And I don't know. I'm not sure. I think if we go down, a couple more of these IPOs that don't have, or that have the same explosiveness of Facebook, if that's what it's limited to before everything kind of starts to trail off, then we're probably in good shape. But if we start to see 4, 5, 6 more of these things that are just popping and putting ridiculous value, it's going to be hard to recover from that.
Helter Skelter has a good point. I actively use Twitter more than Facebook I actually read an article just the other day. I can't remember where it was, but a lot of people, a lot of kids especially, are moving from Facebook to Twitter.
Microblogs is a great idea.
But you know what the biggest reason was? Their parents aren't on Twitter. Their parents are on Facebook now.
It's an interesting idea.
They likened it to having a conversation with your friends in the school hallway, except your parents are right behind your shoulder listening to everything you're saying. That's not cool.
So maybe what you're saying, too, is pointing to... Because there's some kind of exclusivity about Twitter, too, right? You have followers.
Yeah.
Some people that...
By the way, follow us on Twitter, COTGW.
COTGW. Anyway, so it sure isn't the clan of the Wolf Grey.
It might be. That's in France.
Yeah, in France. I don't know why we're bashing France so much tonight. But
we're
anyway,
not bashing, we're just mentioning them.
Just mentioning
Shout out to France.
It's just France. Hey, France.
Anyone here from France?
Nope, didn't think so. Done.
Good.
You know what? This segment is going way too long now.
It is.
We're done with this.
Well,
we're done talking about the news.
One more thing, though. Someone was... It already passed by. Someone was asking about what we think about Tumblr.
Tumblr is a really interesting phenomenon.
I don't know. I honestly don't. My wife was asking me this earlier.
Yeah.
What the hell is Tumblr? I mean, it's like some sort of a blogging platform.
Right, but it's more geared toward photos than it is toward anything else.
Oh, so when you like throw up at the night before at a party...
Hey, look, that's your Tumblr account. That's not my Tumblr account, nor maybe most of people's Tumblr accounts.
Do I have to get a Tumblr account?
Well, I'm just saying, look, hey, I mean, like Notch. Notch has a Tumblr account. Like, it's fun to watch. It's cool. It's nice. I think it's a good idea. I mean, if you have...
Okay.
Well, the smartphones are the way things are now. You know, you take pictures of things. You want to just put it up to something. You're not going to post that on Twitter because you have to post a link. You're not going to maybe put that on Facebook because your parents are watching. You get a Tumblr account, which is basically the merging of those two things. I think it's a good idea. I'm not saying I'd pay $5 billion for it.
So you're not going to purchase that IPO?
Nope.
The big question is, are you going to purchase into the Facebook IPO?
Ride it for maybe 4 days and then sell it.
Basically.
That's probably what I do. Maybe ride it for like 3 or 4 days.
But hey, you know what though? I remember when Google came out with their IPO, and this is before they started providing all these services. There was basically just a search engine.
Right.
And people were like, what? This is ridiculous. It's like hundreds of dollars. This is
Right.
crazy. And it's like quadrupled since then. So you never know.
True.
But
so there is...
Google branched out.
I'll segment this.
Will
I'll
Facebook.
segue out of this by saying this.
Please do that.
And that is, there is a great article, and I think it's on Wired Magazine, called The Great Tech Battle of 2012. Mm-hmm. And it talks about the 4 big players of technology that will define the shape of how we can digest all of our content for the next 10 years. Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft.
That makes sense.
Okay? So those are the 4 names. Fight. And I think at this point...
What? No Apple?
Oh, no, it was Apple, not Microsoft. It was Apple, not Microsoft. And I have a beef with that. That was why I said that.
Okay.
I have a beef with it because Apple... Well, anyway, Apple's making plays toward that for the you know what? I would delivering content now. It's changed.
If we're talking about future, I would swap out Microsoft and Apple, Microsoft and Facebook.
Maybe I would. Oh, I wouldn't take out Facebook. Facebook is.
If we're talking 5 years in the future, I would totally take out Facebook.
Well, wait a minute. What would define the next 5 years? Maybe not necessarily what would be the apex of all of consumption of, data in that same span of time. There's a kickoff. That must mean somebody scored.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so
Pat's up 10-7.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's open to debate. But in any case, read the article. It definitely covers that. We can talk about the who we think might win that particular tech battle. But we got plenty more Echo Screen Lives to cover in 2012. So
That's true.
We'll be able to cover it.
So we can talk about how wrong we are.
Good. All right. With that being said, we want to move on to our topic of the day. What's the topic du jour?
The Patriots.
It's the topic of the day.
The Patriots beat.
I'll have that. Anyway, never, ever, ever diminish my ability to
Wow.
go Dumb and Dumber and weave it into just about anything. Anyway, so yeah, we wanted to talk about sports games because the Super Bowl's coming up, as you can see from the sports game behind us.
Gives us a chance to wear our paraphernalia.
Gives us a chance to show off our awesome Giants jersey or our ugly ass sweatshirts. That you should cut off at the sleeves if you want it to be.
This is way too expensive for me to cut up.
Authentic. Well, hey, then you should start making money.
I use it because it gets cold.
You should start getting money. You should start getting money like Bill Belichick.
I wish.
All right, yeah.
Because then I'd be a football genius.
Yeah, well, you would be, but you're not. Anyway, so sports games.
Yes, I've heard of them.
There are a lot. Yeah. Oh, well, good. So, any of you that might have been playing games back in the Super Nintendo, NES era, maybe even further back. I remember I had Microsoft Football for my Tandy 1000.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, which was actually a really fun game, by the way. Kind of a proto version of Tecmo Super Bowl. It had one button. Anyways,
That's terrible.
It was so cool. Anyway, so but for those of you that were playing games back then, I think it's easy to see how sports games have changed significantly over the years, right?
Yes.
In a lot of ways. There are a lot more of them now.
Yeah, you back Tecmo, they had Tecmo Bowl.
Right. Tecmo Super Bowl.
And wasn't there
and
at least one other?
Yeah, well, they had then
a few others.
Yeah, but then they started in the next generation. So
right.
Then it was like Tecmo Super Bowl and Super Tecmo Super Bowl-ish things.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you can play for Genesis, you can play for Super Nintendo.
Well,
It went on and on forever.
Right.
Even though it wasn't very much fun anymore.
But was it exactly yearly, like what Madden has become?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And so we get yearly iterations of some, but I mean, just in terms of the sheer breadth of sports games. I mean, think about, I remember playing Winter Olympics was one of the first sports games I ever played on my Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Ding ding. Yeah. I mean, it was the best game I had for it. It was awesome.
There were some pretty interesting early sports games that were unrelated to real sports. It was more fantastical, like Caveman Games.
Caveman Games, I remember that.
Like California Games.
California Games.
I mean, that's not fantastical, but it's not your average.
Yeah. It doesn't ask you to kind of start in the theater of the mind.
Ocean Pacific.
Much, right? I mean,
doing the foot bag.
Oh, yeah. And the BMX. BMX was the best. BMX was so much fun.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is that sports games have been around. Hell, Pong, technically.
Pong is technically a sports game.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but it's true.
If you really want to squint and look a little tilted at it.
But that's what's funny about it, right? So you have sports games of the past, like many games of the past, required. I was just reading an article today about Sid Meier talking about this. Anyway, the point is,
I read that too.
Yeah, it makes you think. It makes you think outside the box. You have to almost imagine a different reality that you're watching in order for it to make any sense, because it doesn't really accurately resemble the act itself, the sport itself, the human beings doing the activity, right, playing the game. Now,
like those LED games.
Right,
from the 70s.
Exactly.
That's complete theater of the mind.
Yeah, what is that, right? I mean,
it's LED avoidance.
You might as well just be, it's, oh man, that is just crazy. But even with this, right, this is many, many years old now, right?
7-ish.
You can see that this clearly very well resembles not just a football game, but the broadcast of a football game, right?
Yeah, oh, well, I mean, ESPN was, that was part of the licensing, right? They got ESPN. They had Chris Berman at the beginning of every game. Hey, Chris Berman here.
I'm Boomer.
London.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and you get really annoyed, after the first 3 games because he starts repeating himself.
Right. Because they just didn't have enough room to record all the audio. And
right, but branding is huge.
Yeah.
Hell, Madden. Yeah. That's branding. Oh, yeah, how much money do you think John Madden's made off of the Madden just using his name?
And how much of the mystique of sports games, how much of the popularity of sports games is owed directly to John Madden and the franchise that he launched?
A lot.
A ton.
It's a yearly event with
a turducken.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I mean, it's mythical. That's why it's so crazy.
No, so there are certain games that some might not. I don't know if they kind of breach the balance, between the casual and the hardcore.
Sure.
Something like Modern Warfare 8010.
Right. Coming out next year.
Exactly. That's a series that makes big news.
Right.
And there's, commercials on regular TV programs for it, that, and the other. It's got a wide appeal. People would generally call it a hardcore game. It's not. Right. It's not.
It's a AAA title.
It's not Wii Bowling.
Yep.
Every single year, Madden comes out. It's
with minor tweaks, arguably.
Right. Exactly. Right. Generally, very minor. The biggest thing
really
is changing the roster.
Yep. Roster upgrades.
But
even those tend to be wrong sometimes when those last minute trades happen or somebody gets signed or whatever. Yeah.
But it's a big It's a big media hyped event.
Absolutely.
Mostly hyped by ESPN because they have very little to talk about in